Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? Well, today I'm going to make a short educational video. So this is going to be a bit of a D&D video, so you probably figured that out from the title. But every once in a while I'll talk about like games, and I'll talk about like, oh, this is a clone of, BX D&D or whatever, or, Basic D&D. And somebody will chime in with like, oh yeah, Rule Cyclopedia. So, I've explained it here and there every once in a while, but I figured I'd do like a little video about like what is Basic D&D, not going through all of it, but just like what are the different kinds? What do I mean when I say BX versus Rule Cyclopedia and all that kind of stuff? So unfortunately, I don't own all the products, so I'm gonna have to. I was gonna like edit the video. I said screw that. I'm not gonna put that much work into it. But you can find them represented pictures relatively easily. So let me tell you what happened. In 1974, there was this thing called Original Dungeons and Dragons, and that was, they called it the Three Little Books. That's not Basic D&D. That's just kind of, I mean, that falls under the umbrella of Classic D&D for some people. Like if you go to dragonsfoot.org, that would say Original D&D, and all the basics are called Classic, and then they're going to go on to like first and second edition being advanced, which is what was in the title. Anyhow, 78, they produced like, what's known now as first edition. It was called Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. But at the same time, Gary Gygax hired this guy, Dr. Holmes, to write a basic version of it. And it was in a blue, it was a blue set. This is the retro clone of it, the Blue Home Apprentice rules. It was that color blue. The dragon, looked the same, but it was, giant, kind of snaking head, it was very, very similar. They kind of drooped the cover a little bit. But that color blue, had a party on the front. So most people have seen that, said Dungeons and Dragons on it, in the same kind of font. I think we call it Algerian or something close to that. And so that was the original, that's what they call Holmes Basic. It was very basic. And actually a lot of the ability score modifiers and stuff like that were kind of similar. They were kind of a transition between original Dungeons and Dragons and Advanced, because it was intended to kind of get you into Advanced D&D. Then, I'm probably going to get part of the history wrong, but I really don't care. But, in 1981, they hired two guys. They hired Tom Mulvey, and they hired Frank Menser. And Frank Menser got hired as an editor, and was working for Gary doing some stuff. And Tom Mulvey was more of a game designer, writer. So 1981, you've got this game, and I actually own the product, called BX Moldvay Basic. So this is 1981 Basic D&D. There were two books. I don't own the second one, unfortunately. I have to go buy one. Although you can buy the PDFs now from Wizards of the Coast. So anyhow, you could actually, there's a way to print them out in both in the one book, which is kind of cool. I've seen a little black cover and all that kind of jazz. But this is what I refer to as BX. This is my go-to version of D&D. This is what something like Lamentations of the Flame Princess is based off of, or Basic Fantasy Role-Playing Games is based off of. It's small. There's another book. This one's 60 pages. I think the other one's a few more pages. But it finally ends up being a rather small rule set, which I like. But it's, it goes all the way up to, I think it's like 14th level by the time you get to expert set. Any of the basic sets will take you from first to third level. Then we get to what's called Red Box Basic, Menser Basic, or BECMI. I don't have a representative copy, but the cover is this giant dragon's head and this warrior standing in front of the dragon. You see the back of the warrior. That's the classic Dungeons and Dragons box set. That was released in 1983. Frank Menser became the editor of that. Oh, by the way, Basic BX D&D is also called Mulvey Cook Marsh, because Mr. Cook and Mr. Marsh also were involved in the expert set. Anyhow, so Menser Basic, or Red Box Basic, or BECMI, and that's because there were 5 sets. There was a Basic, Expert, you see, so Companions, Masters, and Immortals. Okay, so there were 5 different box sets, and that was all considered, Basic D&D. Then they got re-released in a book. I forget exactly what year it was. It's called the Rules Cyclopedia, and I believe it's all in there, although the Immortals rules might not be in there. Not all of them, but it's a giant book. And so there's a retro clone of that called Dark Dungeons. And that's what I picked up because I don't own it. Although Tim Harper, picked one up for $5, like the original Rules Cyclopedia. I'm jealous, but I don't think I'd ever play either of them. But I got this kind of for the history and for like reference. This is big. This is a very big book. This is, so people say, oh yeah, Rules Cyclopedia. I'm like, no. Rules Cyclopedia big, okay? Unfortunately, for comparison, I have the Labyrinth Lord by Goblinoid Games is a direct clone. Like, it's almost word for word. Not exactly, but, of BX. Whereas something like Basic Fantasy Role-Playing Game and Lamentations of Flame Princess are a little different. But so I'm going to have to, because I have this in hardcover rather than softcover, I'm going to show you this. It's about yay big page-wise, okay? And let's put that up against, because I'm not going to count the pages. put it up against Dark Dungeons here. Monster. Big difference. You know, let's look at that. Huge. I'm not doing a great job, but you can see it's probably about 3 times as big as this. This one's a little over 120 pages, 130 I think, 130 something. Let me see now that I've got the camera rolling. We call it camera 130, 132, 133, something like that. This sucker tops out at, let's see, we're at 327, 4 and change. No, sorry, 3 and change. You know, so at least 344. You know, at least twice as big. You know, almost 3 times as big. So that's it. You know, those are what's called basic D&D. So you've got Holmes Basic, you know, which never got expanded. So it's first to third level, nice blue box set. A lot of people love it. In fact, I think there's a project going on to expand the Blue Home project to like go up to 14th or whatever level. Then there's BX. You know, it's my go-to. It's 1981 Moldvay Cook Marsh basic D&D, which a lot of those retro clones like Lamentations is based off of. And then you've got Menser Basic, Redbox Basic, Rule Cyclopedia, all pretty much the same thing. And that's like, you know, the big version of Basic. And you know, really honestly, there's not a lot of clones of it. You know, things like Dark Dungeons, because it's big. You know, not that it's bad. I always feel like I'm bashing Frank Menser. I'm not, because he's a great guy. But yeah, so that's basic D&D. So now you know. How about that?